Welcome to Psalms from the Couch. Today we're settling into Psalm 33, a psalm that feels wide and open, like stepping outside under a vast sky and remembering that the world is held together by someone who has never lost his grip. This psalm lifts its eyes outward, to creation, to history, to the rise and fall of nations, and then turns inward again to the quiet heart that is learning to wait. There is no private crisis here, no confession wrung from desperation. Psalm 33 doesn't begin in trouble or complaint. It begins in joy, and it calls us to stay there, not by ignoring the instability around us, but by remembering who speaks into it. This is a psalm for unsteady times, a psalm that steadies us not by changing our circumstances, but by showing us who holds them. Let's read Psalm 33 together. Shout for joy in the Lord, O you righteous. Praise befits the upright. Give thanks to the Lord with a lyre. Make melody to him with a harp of 10 strings. Sing to him a new song. Play skillfully on the strings with loud shouts. For the word of the Lord is upright, and all his work is done in faithfulness. He loves righteousness and justice. The earth is full of the steadfast love of the Lord. By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, and by the breath of his mouth all their host. He gathers the waters of the sea as a heap. He puts the deeps in storehouses. Let all the earth fear the Lord. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him. For he spoke, and it came to be. He commanded, and it stood firm. The Lord brings the counsel of the nations to nothing. He frustrates the plans of the people. The counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people whom he has chosen as his heritage. The Lord looks down from heaven. He sees all the children of man. From where he sits enthroned, he looks out on all the inhabitants of the earth. He who fashions the hearts of them all and observes all their deeds. The king is not saved by his great army. A warrior is not delivered by his great strength. The war horse is a false hope for salvation, and by its great might it cannot rescue. Behold, the eye of the Lord is on those who fear him, on those who hope in his steadfast love, that he may deliver their soul from death and keep them alive in famine. Our soul waits for the Lord. He is our help and our shield, for our heart is glad in him, because we trust in his holy name. Let your steadfast love, O Lord, be upon us, even as we hope in you. Psalm 33 opens with a call that feels like a sudden burst of music. Shout for joy in the Lord, O you righteous. Praise befits the upright. This isn't a polite suggestion, it's a summons. And there's something quietly profound in that second line. Praise befits us. It fits who we are when our hearts are turned toward God. For the soul that has tasted his goodness, worship isn't something we have to force or perform. It's the natural clothing of a grateful heart. The righteous aren't commanded to manufacture joy on an empty soul. They're invited to release the joy that's already stirring within them because of who God is. The invitation deepens in verse 2 and 3. Give thanks to the Lord with a lyre. Make melody to him with a harp of 10 strings. Sing to him a new song. Play skillfully with loud shouts. God is not content with half-hearted or routine devotion. He calls for our creativity, our skill, our full engagement. A new song rises not because the old ones have lost their power, but because every fresh encounter with God awakens fresh wonder. Worship that has grown stale is usually worship that has stopped paying close attention to the one it claims to love. And before the music settles, verse 4 gives us the solid ground beneath the song. For the word of the Lord is upright, and all his work is done in faithfulness. Everything God says is straight and true. Everything he does flows from unwavering faithfulness. His word never twists under pressure. His character never wavers with circumstance. This is why our song can rise with confidence. They rest on something unchanging. Verse 5 widens the horizon until it fills the whole earth. He loves righteousness and justice. The earth is full of the steadfast love of the Lord. Not sprinkled with it, not touched by it in places, full of it. Even when the world feels fractured and dark, God's loyal love is woven into the fabric of creation itself, present in every sunrise, every breath, every quiet mercy we so easily miss. We are never living in a world abandoned by grace, only one where we sometimes forget how to see it. In verse 6, the psalm lifts our eyes to the wonder of creation. By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, and by the breath of his mouth all their host. With a single word he spoke galaxies into existence. With a breath he scattered stars across the vast darkness. The God we whisper to in prayer is the same God whose voice brought the universe to life. There was no struggle, no weariness, just sovereign, effortless power. This is the one we worship. Verse 7 draws that same cosmic power into a tender image. He gathers the waters of the sea as a heap and puts the deep in storehouses. The forces that feel wild and untamable to us are calmly ordered by him. The oceans that could swallow ships are held like a cup in his hand. And so the psalm calls the whole earth to awe in verses 8 and 9. Let all the earth fear the Lord, for he spoke and it came to be. He commanded and it stood firm. Creation itself stands as witness. His word doesn't strain or negotiate. It simply accomplishes. When we lose perspective, this is the reset we need. The God who spoke the world into existence has not suddenly become powerless. From the majesty of creation, the psalm turns to the noise of human history in verse 10. The Lord brings the counsel of the nations to nothing. He frustrates the plans of the peoples. Empires rise with loud confidence and grand strategies. Leaders speak as though their plans are permanent. And yet history is filled with the ruins of what once seemed unstoppable. What feels permanent and powerful in the moment often crumbles under the quiet sovereignty of God. And then comes the steadying contrast in verse 11. The counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of his heart to all generations. This is the anchor for anxious hearts. The same word that spoke galaxies into being is the word that governs history. His purposes don't expire, don't erode, don't get outmaneuvered. We aren't caught in the crossfire of human politics. We're held in the hand of a king whose plans are never frustrated. When the plans we were counting on fall apart, this is the ground we stand on. And that sweeping truth becomes something beautifully personal in verse 12. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people whom he has chosen as his heritage. True security isn't found in military strength, political brilliance, or economic advantage. It's found in belonging, to be chosen, to be his. Identity and security aren't achievements here, they're gifts. And the deepest blessing available to any person or any people is simply this, that the Lord is their God. Not what they have built, not what they have earned, simply who holds them. From the noise of nations and the ruins of human ambition, the psalm quietly shifts its gaze, and what we find is not a distant God surveying the wreckage, but a Father leaning in. Verses 13 and 14 reads, "The Lord looks down from heaven, he sees all the children of man. From where he sits enthroned, he looks out on all the inhabitants of the earth." This isn't cold surveillance. It's the focused, personal gaze of a creator who made what he's looking at and has never stopped caring about it. He is enthroned above everything, and yet nothing escapes his attention. Not the rise of nations, not the quiet fear in a single soul sitting somewhere wondering if anyone sees. Verse 15 takes that gaze even deeper. He who fashions the hearts of them all and observes all their deeds. He didn't just make the stars, he made the hearts of the people who look up at them. He knows what's inside, not from a distance, but from the inside out. He understands the inner workings of our fears, our hopes, our hidden doubts. His knowledge isn't clinical or cold. It's the knowing that only belongs to the one who formed us. And because he formed us, nothing about our inner life surprises him or overwhelms him. He sees all of it, and he stays. But before that tenderness can settle into mere comfort, the psalm delivers a necessary correction. The king is not saved by his great army. A warrior is not delivered by his great strength. The war horse is a false hope for salvation. In our world, we have our own versions. Bank accounts, health, cleverness, connections. The things that look solid until the moment we lean our full weight on them and they give way. This isn't a dismissal of wisdom or preparation. It's a dismantling of the illusion that any of these things can ultimately do what only God can do. The impressive can still fail, the powerful can still fall, and the soul that has quietly transferred its deepest trust onto visible strength will eventually discover it's been leaning on a fragile reed. The psalm isn't trying to frighten us. It's trying to free us from the exhausting work of holding ourselves up with things that were never strong enough to bear the weight. And after everything, the creation, the nations, the armies, the psalm narrows in verses 18 and 19 to a single breathtaking image. Behold, the eye of the Lord is on those who fear him, on those who hope in his steadfast love, that he may deliver their soul from death and keep them alive in famine. That word, behold, is an invitation to stop and look carefully. The God whose eye surveys all the earth, who watches kings and empires rise and fall, whose gaze takes in every human heart. That same eye comes to rest with tender focus on the trusting, the hoping, the ones whose real asset is that they have placed everything in God's hands and refuse to take it back. His eye brings not inspection, but protection, deliverance, and sustaining care even in the leanest seasons. After the vastness of creation and the sweep of history, the psalm brings us home to the waiting heart in verse 20. Our soul waits for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. Notice the shift. The voice that has been pointing outward to stars, to seas, to nations, now turns inward and becomes almost a whisper. A community gathered around a shared posture. This waiting isn't passive resignation or anxious limbo. It's the deliberate settling of the soul into God's perfect timing. Help and shield, active protection. The steady heart is the willing heart. Verse 21 reveals what grows in that waiting place. For our heart is glad in him, because we trust in his holy name. Joy returns, not loud this time, not the shout of the opening verses, but something quieter and deeper. Gladness rooted in trust, trust rooted in his name, his revealed character, his proven faithfulness, everything he has shown himself to be across every verse of this psalm. The soul that has traced his hand through creation and history and the intimacy of his gaze arrives here, glad, not because circumstances have resolved, but because the anchor has held. And finally, the psalm closes not with a declaration, but with a prayer, barely a sentence long and yet carrying the weight of everything that came before. Let your steadfast love, O Lord, be upon us, even as we hope in you. After the stars and the seas and the nations and the armies, it comes down to this: a people hoping, a God whose love meets that hope. The request isn't for power or protection or prosperity. It's simply for the love of God to rest on the people who are waiting for it. We hope in him. He loves us. And in that exchange, quiet, steady, unshakable, the psalm finds its resting place. Psalm 33 invites us to lift our eyes above the noise and remember who holds the world and who holds our hearts. When everything feels unstable, plans failing, voices loud with uncertainty, the ground shifting beneath our feet, there is still a word that stands. The God who spoke creation into being has not lost his authority. The one who shapes history still sees our days. His love fills the earth even when we struggle to notice it, and his eye rests tenderly on those who wait for him. Trust is not something we manufacture. It rises when we remember who he is. And once we stop looking to the visible strength around us and begin looking again at the word that stands forever, something settles, not because our circumstances are secure, but because he is. I'm glad we shared this psalm together on the couch here today. Keep leaning into the word that steadies your steps.